Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Workshop Organizing Committee, I, Dr. Dibyendu Ganguly, welcome you all on the third day of the workshop on research methodology organized by IQAC R&D Cell, Vijay Krishna Girls College, in collaboration with IQAC, University of Calcutta. Professor Bula Bhadro will deliver her lecture in today's session. May I now introduce our renowned and eminent speaker, Professor Bula Bhadro. Professor Dr. Bula Bhadro, an alumnus of Presidency College and University of Calcutta, did her MA and PhD from McMaster University, Canada, where she taught for 3 years as assistant professor. She joined Department of Sociology, University of Calcutta in আচ্ছা শোনা যাচ্ছে কি আমার কথা?
হ্যাঁ শোনা যাচ্ছে
University in Calcutta in 1989 and taught for 28 years. At present, she is the professor and head Department of Sociology at Sister Nivedita University, Kolkata. She has been a visiting faculty in several universities in India and abroad. Her research interest and areas of specialization includes post-colonial theory, sociology of gender, sociology of childhood, and sociology of science and technology. She has published exclusively on gender and extensively on gender, childhood, and technology nationally and internationally. Her first book, entitled Materialist Orientalism, Marx, Asiatic Mode of Production and India, is internationally acclaimed. She is the recipient of Professor D.N. Mazumdar Memorial Gold Medal as Distinguished Social Scientist by Indian Social Science Association in 2017. She was also the expert member Schemes for Science for Equity, Empowerment and Development, SEED Division of Department of Science and Technology, DST, Government of India in 2018-19 and was the convener Research Committee on Sociology of Childhood and Youth, Indian Sociological Society, New Delhi, 2012 to 2017. Currently, she is the regional representative and board member of Research Committee on Gender, Women and Society and Secretary and Treasurer of Sociology of Childhood of International Sociological Association, Madrid, Spain. She has supervised a large number of PhDs and recipient of several major projects by UGC, ICSSR, and SEED DST, Government of India. She has been a resource person in enormous number of trainings and on gender sensitization, human rights, parenting, child rights, and protection in police training and family counseling for Government of India, West Bengal, and Assam, and a number of national and international NGOs. She has participated in numerous talk shows in All India Radio and in different TV channels, and also contributed a large number of articles to All India English and Bengali dailies on current social issues and problems. Now, I would kindly request Professor Dr. Bula Bhadro to deliver her presentation in the session. Please, madam.
Thank you, Dibyendu, for the kind introduction. Am I audible to you all?
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay. Before I present the PowerPoint one on mixed methods research, let me just say a few sentences. Mixed method research is still at its infancy in terms of researches in India, specifically social science research. But mixed method research, generally known as third revolution in the methodological arena, has been actually very popular in late 80s, from late 80s, coinciding with the turn of postmodernism and multiplicity in terms of looking at society and history and politics. and culture. So the earlier models of one method of data collection, that is either qualitative or quantitative, and the variants of them were actually criticized for representing reality in partial and too much of a parochial mode. So in a way, mixed method provides a kind of mixture of things, both qualitative and quantitative. Actually, integrally components of qualitative and quantitative are part of mixed methods. Mixed methods in one sentence is actually that kind of methods which allows any researcher to capture the reality as much as possible. Capturing reality is the sole target of any research. So mixed method research is considered superior in relation to one method or one variant of method, etc., because it is more or less, the pervasive one, that it can actually capture different types of reality in one single research, accommodate different types of research in one single research. It is like life. Life is made up of so many components, some of them quantitative, some of them qualitative, some of them qualitative come quantitative, some of them transformative. So in a sense, mixed methods is what is told about mixed method, and that's why mixed method is the dominant hegemonic methodological technique these days, that it captures more reality than all these methods captured previously. So says the claims of the mixed methodologies. We have been actually running sort of back, as we do often, and we haven't been into mixed methods. So now it's sort of pertinent very much within a complex scenario that we need to know about mixed methods. Considering this, today's presentation is basically on why and how we apply mixed methods. Now let me present my PPT. Tell me whether you can see the PPT.
Yes, madam. Yes, madam.
Okay, then let me start. You can see the nomenclature of the presentation is why apply mixed methods approach in research. You can say I'm only competent to talk about social science research, not others. But even in science, and you must have seen the National Economic Policy of 2020, it has been said that interdisciplinarity is the most important academic orientation we are now embracing, because it has been too late that we have been very compartmentalized. So it is said in that document that a physics major, nothing prevents a physics major in taking singing as a generic elective or other discipline specific elective. That means there is no contradiction between physics and singing or sociology and physics. That's one of the reasons that mixed method is also now prescribed when we discuss ICSSR or UGC methodology research courses. Mixed method is considered one of the best one for also science students, because it creates a broadening of the horizon. Let's focus on this to begin with. What is it about the nature of mixed methods that draws researchers to its use? I already said it, but let's just repeat it. Its popularity can be easily documented through journal articles, conference proceedings, books, and the formation of a professional association, a journal, and special interest groups. It has been called third methodological movement following the development of first quantitative, then qualitative research, the third research paradigm, and a new star in the social science sky. I mean, in 2007, when Mary was writing, it was still a star. It was getting to be a big star in social science sky. But now it is almost a star in most of the disciplines sky. Why does it merit such superlatives? One answer is that mixing methods is an intuitive way of doing research that is constantly being displayed throughout our everyday lives. In a way, it is dynamic, that it takes care of what is going on, not only what went on, but what goes on, and can accommodate within the same research topic. For example, I give a very, very plain and simple example. Good physicians consider quantitative lab results along with patients' qualitative life history and symptoms when making a diagnosis and a treatment plan. Similarly, data on consumption pattern is not only dependent on economic capacity, which is a quantitative aspect, but also on educational qualification and family orientation in terms of culture, which is a qualitative aspect. Television broadcasters report about hurricanes and supplement with individual stories. So in all these instances, we see mixed method in ways, what we call multiple ways of seeing and hearing. Multiple ways are available in everyday life, and mixed methods research provides multiple ways to address a research problem. See, we are living in the age of multiplicity, interdisciplinarity, multidisciplinarity, and multiple ways of doing things. Whatever any political slogan tells us, it is always better to have a pluralistic view, multiple way of understanding things, and diverse way of understanding things. So mixed methods actually tells us that whatever we have done single-handedly suffers from weakness, because if a doctor only depends on lab report, that doctor, after all, is not a good doctor. The doctor has to know what the life history and symptoms in terms of patient's daily life. So a diagnosis can only be successful if the doctor takes care of both the qualitative aspects of patient's life and the quantitative aspect of the lab report. Similarly, in television, good television studios, good media, sound, solid ones, talks about, hurricanes, tsunamis, at the same time, effect on individuals, how it has transformed their life forever. You can see the example we are living through now, COVID-19. COVID-19 cannot be studied without applying mixed methods, because we have to know about something about the virus. We have to know something about how to prevent it. We have to know something how to have changed relationships in changed circumstances, like we are doing now, talking to you through a virtual medium. 1 year back, we would not have done that. I would have been Howrah Vijaya Krishna College, sitting in front of all of you and discussing this. So we got to know everything which is changing. Otherwise, that research is not a solid one. So what are the different aspects of this particular brief lecture? Because mixed method is a big thing, but just briefly, I'll touch on all these things. I'll define it, talk about a little bit quantitative and qualitative, and when to use mixed method research, types of mixed method research designs, what are the features, steps in conducting a mixed method study, and mixed method research questions, try to give you some idea of it. So how do we then define mixed method research? A mixed method research design is a procedure for collecting, analyzing, and mixing both quantitative and qualitative research and methods in a single study to understand a research problem. So that means quantitative and qualitative are integral part of mixed method research. Now, Creswell and Planko, these are one of the very pioneers in mixed method research, still are, recommend a definition of mixed method research that combines methods, philosophy, and research design orientation with the following core characteristics: collects and analyzes persuasively and rigorously both quantitative and qualitative data based on research questions, mixes or integrates or links the two forms of data concurrently by combining them or merging them, sequentially by having one built on the other or embedding one with the other. given priority to one or both two forms of data in terms of what the research emphasizes, uses these procedures in a single study or in multiple phases of a program of study, frames this procedure within philosophical worldviews and theoretical lenses, and combines the procedures into specific research designs that direct the plan for conducting the study. To utilize this mixed method effectively, we must understand both quantitative and qualitative research. See, mixed method is built on quantitative and qualitative, not without quantitative and qualitative. Only thing, it mixes and matches, merges them, or embed in some cases. We will see the different types of designs to make the research better. That means research more valid, more reliable, and more actually solid in terms of the outcome, generalizations, probabilities, etc. Quantitative research methodology. I'm sure all of you know this one because this is the one Indian universities actually, we actually are, we generally follow. So we follow that. Is there a problem?
Madam, PPT-টা whole screen একটু করুন তাহলে সুবিধা হবে।
Participants are requested to mute your audio.
But mute my audio.
No, participants.
I would request one thing though, not to take pictures of the PPTs. Because, these days UGC is very tough on plagiarism, not to take the pictures of the PPTs. I'll give you all the references. So don't do that. Okay.
Madam, whole screen করে দিন PPT-টা তাহলে দেখতে সুবিধা।
দিব্যেন্দু, this is whole screen. আরো বাড়াবো?
না, আপনার এই পাশে দেখুন একটা কাপের মতো আছে, ওটাকে একটু টিপুন এই পাশে। দেখুন তিনটে ডটের ওখানটায় দেখুন একটু নিচের দিকেই। ওটা একটু আপনি স্ক্রিনটা এনে দেখুন কত একটা পার্সেন্ট দেখাচ্ছে তার পাশে, ওখানটা করলেই আপনার চলে আসবে। না, ওটা আপনার পিপিটিতেই আছে, পিপিটির নিচেই।
পিপিটির নিচে? ও আচ্ছা, পিপিটির নিচে তো আছে।
ওখানটাই হোল স্ক্রিন হয়ে যাবে।
পিপিটির নিচে এটা কিন্তু এখন 100%, 99 অ্যাকচুয়ালি।
ওটাতে করলে হোল স্ক্রিন হয়ে যাবে। এইখানটায় আপনার ওই তিনটে ইয়ে আছে।
F5 দিলেও হবে ম্যাডাম।
এটার পাশেরটাতেই হোল স্ক্রিন আছে, এটার পাশেরটাতেই না, ওই পাশেরটা।
তুমি এতে এই ডিশে পুট করতে বলছো?
বাস হয়ে গেছে।
তুমি ডিশে পুট করতে বলছো, তাই বলো? আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, বুঝতে পেরেছি। ওকে, ডিশে পুট করলে আমার অসুবিধা হয়, আমি আপ ডাউন করতে পারবো না, ওটা দেখা যায় না, তো এই জন্য আমি ডিশে পুট করি না। আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে, যেটাতে সুবিধা হচ্ছে করো। A type of educational research in which the research decides what to study, asks specific narrow questions. Remember, quantitative asks narrow questions, collects quantifiable data participants, and it has to be a large number of participants in case of quantitative study, analyzes these numbers using statistics and conducts the inquiry, I would say hopefully in an unbiased objective manner, because this is a big question. Now, generally nowadays we do not apply positivism as theoretical lens, but we apply post-positivism if it is a singular reality, somewhat deductive manner, objective, etc. Quantitative methodology generally attempts to quantify variables of interest, so questions must be measurable. Generally involves collecting numerical data that can be subjected to statistical analysis. Example of data collection methodologies are sometimes performance tests that require disinfectant product pass all tests, like in pharmaceutical position, generally are considered. Personality measures, objective tests, self-report measures, individuals' personal responses, self-studies, etc. Part of it. Questionnaire within closed, ended, or open-ended, but transferred to quantitative data. And then data is generally referred to as hard data, and we can again quantify all the data. See here, the main point is that data must be quantifiable, which is a problem in human life because our life are not quantifiable to a certain extent. It is only quantifiable to some extent, like we might say that our income, our educational level, our daily expenditure, monthly expenditure, how much we pay to the doctor, etc., which are known. But those things which are not known, the up down of the cost of living because of the market, and how much we spend on other things, and we have no idea how much trust we have with each other, how much exploitation we do or exploited we are. So these cannot be quantified. So naturally, quantification requires only partial understanding. That is, it can only capture partial reality, which is quantifiable and measurable. Qualitative research, on the other hand, relies on the views of participants, asks broad general questions, collects data consisting largely of words or text from participants, describes and analyzes these words for themes, conducts the inquiry in a subjective manner. See, this binary position is rejected now, but that is how we used to understand quantitative versus qualitative, objective versus subjective. It's rejected now. Now, here we have constructivism, where we have multiple realities, where we have subjective position, and where we go inductive research. That means we don't have a research question to start with. After we collect data, we try to deduce a research question, some data. There are times we wish to know, and not how many or how well, but simply how example. What are the factors that influence a postgraduate student's experience in an online research methods course? Qualitative methodology generally involves listening to the participant's voice and subjecting the data to analytic induction. So it's more exploratory in nature, and examples are interviews, open-ended questionnaires, observation, content analysis, focus groups, and now feminists have added narratives also. So in a sense, in an online course, if we are studying an online course, which would be very apt for these days, some people will say, these many hours, these many courses, these many topics. Others would say that, we don't like it because we have no relationship with the faculty or even the fellow learners. A school or an university or a college is not just learning the syllabus. It's about developing a relationships. It's going to have a tea with friends, going to a movie, not bunking some classes, not liking the teachers, disliking some teachers, liking some teachers more and more, and there is relationship between the students. So it's a whole lot of things which are very subjective or qualitative. So we have to know what the participants say. So participants' position becomes very important rather than measurement position as opposed to quantitative. So these are steps for conducting a mixed method study. Actually, steps are all same, even a quantitative and qualitative, little different, that's all. You can see the first step is in the bottom. We have to first decide that if a mixed method study is at all feasible in the circumstances. Then we have to have a rationale. We must see why we are doing mixed method study. I mean, this is one of the most important things. Then identify the data collection, strategy, and types of design. And then develop quantitative methods, mixed and questions. Then collect quantitative data, analyze data separately or concurrently. Here there is a twist. You can write a separate quantitative data report, qualitative. At some point you have to do it together though, but it is possible. Write the report as a 1 or 2 phase study. I mean, you might have a phase-wise study because it's a mixed method. You're doing quantitative first, qualitative second, and vice versa. So these are some of the alternatives. Otherwise, it's a, all researchers follow same steps, be it science, be it humanities or social science. Exactly in some science subject, you have a laboratory, and in humanities, social sciences we call, we have a field to study. So when to use mixed methods design? So mixed methods are useful when you have a need to both explore and explain. That means to go dig deeper and to still provide interpretation. And when either qualitative or quantitative methods. Somebody saying something? No? Okay. And when either qualitative or quantitative methods alone seems inadequate for the complexity of the research questions and topics that many social reality, and when both quantitative and qualitative data together provide a better standing of your research problem than either type by itself. So this is the summary. This first paragraph can be considered summary of about 4 or 5 slides. We have been discussing that we need to both explore and explain at the same time in the same research. So when one type of research is not enough to address the research problem or answer the research questions. Now, pragmatism, which is part of other researches too, which is practicality, multiple viewpoints, biased and unbiased, some biased, some unbiased, subjective and objective. So here we have some kind of a mixing, matching, merger, that we have to have all these. So to incorporate qualitative component into an otherwise quantitative study, to build from one phase of another to a study to another, explore qualitatively and develop an instrument, follow up a quantitative design and obtain more detailed information. See, continuously you are mixing and matching quantitative and qualitative. That is one of the basic things we should understand about mixed methods. So utilizes both quantitative and qualitative data collection methodologies. Examples, we can take some interviews, some questionnaires. For example, you can take, let's say, respondent A in the month of January, an interview. Then in the month of April, you can send a questionnaire and then tally it. I'll come to the questionnaire part, that how it can be little more also variety. Performance test and observation, questionnaires and follow-up groups, document analysis, interviews. Again, you can repeat and repeat. Now, in questionnaire also, it's actually a separate topic for a methodology class, is that how to write a questionnaire. It's a difficult thing. We generally first taught what not to do in questionnaire. One example, we call it pitfalls of questionnaire. One example is that you're never going to ask somebody, do you like him or not? That you're never going to ask. Because if he says yes, then what is the answer? Is liking it or not liking it? You don't know. So you never use this kind of question, which is called double barrel question. So you would say an innocent neutral question. It's like, do you like it? Then you give the answer, yes or no. Or you can even say, do you dislike? Then yes or no. Then you know, if he says or she says yes, then dislikes, and says no, then doesn't dislike. But you cannot say, do you like or not? Often what we say in colloquially. So questionnaires can be of different types. For example, there is what is called split half reliability. So in the first half in the questionnaire, you have certain questions. And then in the second half of the question, maybe next day, or maybe in the, with a little gap of half an hour or so, you'll ask the same question in a different way. So you split the question, split half questionnaire. And there are test, retest, alternative, parallel, lots of types, because questionnaire itself is a very huge topic. So mixed method research design is thus a procedure for collecting, analyzing, mixing both quantitative and qualitative research and methods in a single study to understand a research problem. So this is the first part. Now, this is the second part. We are starting key characteristics of mixed method designs. Rationale, test findings of first phase, explain the results of first phase in more detail, provide a more complete understanding than their quantitative or qualitative alone, collecting both qualitative and quantitative data, numeric data, text data. See, in mixed method, obviously you are having lots of types of data. Of them is quantitative, qualitative, then numeric data and text data. That means text of the interviews you have taken, or text of the focus group discussion you have collected. So there is a number of data you have, and there is always a first stage. That means you try to summarize what you have got in your first phase. latest findings of the first phase, because mixed method is always run in phases. Even if in a doctoral dissertation, at least 6 to 8 months is devoted to a mixed method doctoral dissertation, where you can have first phase in first 2 months, then second phase in next 4 months, and the final phase in next 2 months. That makes you 8 months rigorously. So this is what we say. Notation defined. We call it QUAN, means quantitatively driven study. QUAL, qualitatively driven study. QUAN is obviously quantitative data is secondary to qualitative data, and QUAL is qualitative data is secondary to quantitative data. It depends on your research question. Is your research quantitative oriented? Is your research question quantitatively oriented, or is your research question qualitatively oriented? That has to be decided by the researcher, and it's a sole prerogative of the researcher, and in case of a PhD, of the PhD committee and the researcher. So it indicates, the plus sign indicates that quantitative and qualitative data are collected concurrently, that means at the same time. And the arrow indicates that quantitative and qualitative data are collected sequentially. Depending on what you want from the research, sequence will be dependent on that. You can first do quantitative, then qualitative, or vice versa. So we now have another set of things in mixed design, which is priority and sequence. What's your priority in the research? What you have set as your target. So that has to be matching with this design. Are you giving equal weight to quantitative and qualitative? Are you giving more to quant, means quantitative? Are you giving more to qual, that means quantitative? Or you're collecting both the type of data at the same time? Or you're collecting quantitative first, followed by qualitative, and vice versa. These all depends on the kind of research questions. Remember our first research question, the patient going to a doctor with the test reports, and the doctor is trying to diagnose. If the doctor is more quantity oriented, less experienced, dependent on the lab reports, quantitative gets primacy. If the doctor is more experienced, knows that lab reports do not say all the time, like to know something about the patient's lifestyle, location, economic position, cultural identity, educational qualification, and the region the person stays, etc. And the gender, of course. So naturally, he can see the gender, but the point is, he has to decide for the particular gender whether the person is disadvantageously placed in the local setting or properly placed. So naturally, these things has to be in the researcher's mind while doing it. There is no cut and dried formula for any research, like also there is no cut and dried formula in research. Researchers' intuition, experience, reading helps a lot. The level of interaction between quantitative and qualitative, the priority of the strands, the timing of the strands, where and how to make the strands. See, researcher has to be aware by reading, of course, doing a good review of literature on mixed method studies, that what are the priority for the researcher, the timing of the things, and where and how to make the strands. What type, when time, when you are going to mix it, before qualitative, quantitative, or quantitative before qualitative, and at some point of time decided by you. The research strand covers a broad range of social science research methods, essential for understanding and critical engagement with the research literature in many specialist areas and in education more generally, offers opportunities and encouragement to apply the knowledge gained to themselves and vice versa. See, somebody goes to, research now on domestic violence, the classic position of the COVID-19, that COVID-19 did not actually spare any country, any woman, and every country, right from Sweden, Norway, Finland, which we think paradise of gender equality, right from there to India, which is at the very bottom of things, and some of the African countries. Domestic violence took place hugely. And the data we get from WHO and even that we know that it's a huge part of COVID-19 syndrome, which has expressed that couples staying under the same roof 24/7 is not a blissful marriage. Marital arrangements did not bless them. Did not bless them. It is not a bliss. Staying 24/7. So now there, if you have to say 24/7, huge domestic violence rose. Indian National Commission for Women also reported that and had several emergency numbers. Now, if somebody wants to research this, what would be the first thing the researcher do? If I would do it, I will first take qualitative. Then I'll quantify. Somebody thinks quantification would be how many women have been tortured. That is important. Then go for quantitative and qualitative later. So major mixed research design. Now we're going to the typology of mixed methods research design. Convergent parallel design. Convergence, we all know what convergence is. Here, quantitative data collection and analysis, qualitative data collection and analysis are concurrently because they compare and relate to each other. For example, in the COVID-19 domestic violence case, you can do one thing. You could interview one group of women through phone, through WhatsApp, and at the same time trying to collect the quantitative data from WHO, United Nations Women's Wing, then UNIFEM, then National Commission for Women, then regional scenario, your local scenario. You can collect the quantitative data. That would be a convergent parallel design. Then you try to analyze the two data states separately first, then mix it, merging the results during the interpretations and sometimes during data collection. See, often when you ask a person, anybody, right from middle to the very rich, except the very lower income group, because they are much more truthful. They can talk about their abusive partners more than what middle class women have been shied away. So naturally, what happens is, if you ask somebody in the middle and the upper class, are you beaten up by your husband? You will get an answer of no. Invariably, even though she is beaten up, even though positivistically you can see that she is beaten up, she won't say that. So the question cannot be that straight and that open and that naked. So you have to have a question which would not hurt her, and then she will withdraw herself. So naturally, this actually calls for convergent type of parallel design when and wherever you can mix and match it. So when we use it, choose this design if you need to collect both types of data in one visit to the field. See, it is not possible often to go, several visits. So you might have to do one visit. So then convergent design is obviously the answer to it. Then quantitative and qualitative research you have to have can manage extensive data collection activities individually or with the team. Generally, convergent is done in a small data set individually, in a large data set in a team, or sponsored research, or you have got a project and you can hire your research assistant, etc. Philosophical assumptions of convergent designs, it's an umbrella paradigm, such as pragmatism, practicality, you consider practicality. Then common variance is parallel databases variant. Hospital formularies are usually the gatekeepers. The gatekeepers of the gatekeepers for pharmaceutical drugs, typical majority members of hospital formularies, physicians, and most of the time the formulary is shared by pharmacists. So naturally, you have to have parallel database. One you can get from the hospital physician, another you can get from the pharmacist, etc. And then data transformation variant. Two types of rescaling transformations. Normalize, the term rescaling means actually normalization and standardization, which are frequently interchanged. That means what? You cannot measure apples and oranges, so you have to bring some common standard, normalization of it, to measure apples and oranges, the impact on your body. And then data validation variant, questions in a questionnaire. As I said, you can have a split of questionnaire. You can have test retest that you test in January, then you come back again in able to retest it with another type of different questionnaire or alternative measures are there. So convergent parallel design then, it's a collect both types of data concurrently, analyzes two data sets separately, merge the results. Results have to be merged. And strength is, it is intuitive, efficient, and it lends a lot of credibility to the team. What are the challenges? Challenges that require substantial effort and expertise, issues related to samples and sample sizes, difficult to converge often two sets of data, and how to resolve this difficulty. So it's otherwise good, intuitive, efficient, credibility, etc. But it requires a substantial expertise. That means the research team is capable, or the individual is capable of both type of collection of data and analysis. Because while you converge, it's a very, very important position that when you converge, you know who comes prior. Whether you prefer to have, the appetizer in the middle of your lunch or appetizer as usually in the beginning, and you have to designate what is the appetizer. এখানে সবাই যদি বাংলা বুঝে থাকেন তাহলে আমি বলি শুক্তোটা আগে খাবেন না আগে মোচার চচ্চড়ি খাবেন। সবাই বাংলা বোঝে তো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
আচ্ছা, মানে শুক্তো আর মোচার চচ্চড়ি বোঝা সম্ভব না বাঙালি না হলে। It's impossible. So convergent parallel design টাইপটা অন্যরকম, মানে এই টাইপের আর কি। শুক্তো যদি আপনি পরে খান আর মোচা যদি আগে খান, you're bound to have a very confused type of result. So that is what the convergent people that who follow them, they actually tell us. Now the explanatory one, I mean, explanatory and exploratory are two types of research. We have been learning this for 100 years now. So what is the explanatory design? But there is another word into it, sequential, which is very important. Quantitative data collection and analysis, follow up with qualitative data, then interpretation. So you have to decide that you are following your sequence in which manner, quantitative first or qualitative first, etc. The researcher starts by collecting and analyzing quantitative data, collects and analyzes qualitative data in a second phase as a follow-up to the quantitative result. Connects the phases by using quantitative results to shape qualitative questions, sampling, data collection. So once you have done one type of data collection, in the light of that, you have to frame the questions, the clues, the things you really want to know in your qualitative type. So it's not data collection alone. It involves a sequence logically that you must understand logically how to connect the two. So when to use the explanatory design? Choose the design if research and research problems are quantitatively oriented, no important variables and instruments are available. That means if you have a computer, if you have SPSS, if you have SAS, if you have any other things, or you have your small calculator and your hand, whatever. So participants available for second data collection, have time to conduct two phases, have limited resources and need to collect and analyze one data type at a time. Need questions emerge from quantitative results. Now, see, you went to the field with an understanding because you're going with an explanatory one. That means deductive one. You have a hypothesis. Let me just very briefly give a definition of the hypothesis and the proposition because it's very important. A proposition proposes a relationship between two variables. A hypothesis proposes a testable proposition. That means a hypothesis is that you know that the more we are formally educated, the worse we are in terms of our affectionate skills, supposedly. Don't get me wrong otherwise. The more we are actually formally educated, we are not, that much educated in terms of affection skills. That is a hypothesis. You can reject it when you get your quantitative data. You can modify it, or you can actually think that now whatever I got, what is it saying? Do I need to think about another set of questions, another set of clues, probing into it through another particular situation. So what are the assumptions when you do explanatory design? You have some philosophical assumptions, somebody you're following. For example, we have a tendency to follow European philosophers. For example, I would say a very common thing, রবীন্দ্রনাথ লোকটা যে বাচ্চাদের সম্পর্কে এত কিছু লিখে গেছিলেন, কবিতা, গল্প, শিক্ষা সম্বন্ধে প্রবন্ধ, কি করে একটা বাচ্চা ছেলেকে পড়ানো যায়, তাকে তার আগ্রহ তৈরি করা যায়, আমরা মোটেই জানি না। আমরা এডুকেশন বলতে থিওরিজ ওদের দেশ থেকে পড়ি, যা কিছু থিওরি আমরা বুঝি সব তথ্য আমরা ধার করে আনি, সেগুলোকে খানিকটা মুখস্থ করি, সব হজম হয় না, বদহজম হয়, সুপ্ত এবং মোজার টানা হচ্ছে, যা বেরোয় সেটা খুব খারাপ জিনিস। সুতরাং philosophical assumptions are very important, the kind of theories you're exposing yourself to and also discussing about it. Begin from post-positivism for quantitative phase. Post-positivism is always a critique of positivism. You all know what positivism is. We can see and feel everything. So shift to constructivism for qualitative phase. Common variance, follow-up expansion, participant selection. Now, here are the two very important points to just ponder for a minute or so, because who do you select for qualitative participation is very important in relation to your data set. Because if you select the same person, it would be problematic. So it is better to divide your sample in two halves if you have a sequential explanatory design. If you have a concurrent, you don't have to do that. You can't, because it's concurrently done. But sequentially, you must not ask the same person. You must ask a different person, but related with same characteristics of the sample. You cannot go for a different sample composition. So within the same, so before you do that, see, sampling is a very important thing. How to do it, how to choose the sample, with what characteristics in explanatory studies, because explanatory studies are deductive. That means you have started with a hypothesis. You have to somehow disprove HO, that means alternative, your null hypothesis, so that your alternative hypothesis is upheld. I hope this much of statistics is known to the people. So this is an important position. And in this case, first collect and analyze quantitative data, explanatory. Identify specific quantitative results that need additional explanation. Design qualitative study based on what learned from qualitative results. Collect and analyze qualitative data. Interpret combined results. See, mixed method gives you a trouble in the end when you combine. It's like, you are okay with reading 2 books. Now that you have to read 8 to 10 or 20 or 30 for the same thing, you are in trouble. So often people cannot write in pieces. They copy. They have been copying in our country so much that UGC has to now tell that if you copy your article, earlier article, more than 25%, you will be penalized with plagiarism. And if you copy without documentation in your dissertation and anywhere, it will be considered complete plagiarism, and that should not come out. It should not see daylight. So this is one thing where mixed method teaches students, teaches researchers, teaches academics how to combine the result from the original data set. Hopefully it is original, not cooked up. So samples different or same group of people in both studies. The participants in the qualitative study should be those who participated in the quantitative study. Sample size is equal or unequal. Qualitative study uses smaller samples. So all these are questions. In a sense, you choose. You can have same, you can have different, equal, unequal, researcher's choice. Decide what quantitative results to follow up. If it is unclear, unexpected, significant, non-significant, outliers or extreme cases, if you do chi-square or if you do t-test, or outliers if you do regression and multiple regression. So you have to explain this. How to select participants for qualitative study. Individuals who volunteer to participate in interviews, weaker connection between the 2 phases. Systematic approach will be based on quantitative results and select participants best able to be your qualitative participants. So choosing sample is a real task for any sequential mixed method design. What are the strengths of this? It is appealing to quantitative researchers, straightforward to design, implement, report. Quantitative component can make the qualitative approach more acceptable to quantitative biased audiences. Researcher produces a product, such as an instrument, lend itself to emergent approaches. I will come a little later on. Emergent approaches are very important. Challenges are two phases require lengthy time to implement. Difficult to specify quantitative procedure when applying for initial approval. May have to apply twice. Need to decide what results to follow up. Must decide criteria for selecting participants. Need to contact participants for a second round of data collection. Deciding the qualitative phase procedure for developing a valid and reliable instrument. The last one is a really critical one, deciding an instrument for qualitative study for a valid and reliable instrument. This we actually teach for 3-4 classes because this is one of the most critical ones. So the exploratory design then, we have the explanatory, now the exploratory. We are exploring, we don't have established hypotheses, we have a proposition. We have a feel, intuition that two aspects of some reality may be related. Let us see. So the researcher collects and analyzes qualitative data, first followed by quantitative data, analyzes qualitative data, and uses results to build to the subsequent quantitative phase. Connects the phases by using the qualitative result to shape the quantitative phase by specifying research questions and variables, developing an instrument and generating a typology. See, all these are known to everybody because these are also part of any research. But in case of mixed method, you're first doing either qualitative or quantitative. Because it is exploratory, we'll always do qualitative first. Then to first explore, because variables theories hypothesis not known, develop an instrument of typology that is not available to assess whether quantitative themes generalize to population. See, even in non-mixed research, we have always been telling exploratory studies are difficult because that is more original. You cannot follow people. So it is more original in that sense. So when do we use it? Researcher and research problems are qualitatively oriented. We find the situation, we think research problem are qualitatively oriented. Important variables not known and instruments not available have time to conduct 2 phases and limited resources and need to collect and analyze one data type at a time. And new questions have emerged from qualitative results. What are the philosophical assumptions? Begin from constructivism. That's an emerging position for the qualitative phase. Shift to positivism for the quantitative one. Common variants are theory development variant, instrument development variant. See, since this is exploratory, we need to give birth to some analytical generalization, which will form a theory, a rough theory, and also an instrument development, what the kind of instruments are preferable in these kind of situations. What are the strengths? Straightforward to design, implement and report. Quantitative component can make the qualitative approach more acceptable, blah, blah, blah. And researcher produces a product such an instrument, lends itself to emergent approaches. What are the challenges? 2 phases require lengthy time to implement, difficult to specify quantitative procedures when applying. The same type of things, deciding the qualitative findings to use for quantitative procedure for developing and valid reliable. The challenges is more or less same. It will change in other type of design. Now we have the third variety, the embedded one. Actually, we have the 4th variety. We had first convergent, then explanatory, exploratory, and then the embedded one. Embedded, we can understand it comes from that word embedded. The researcher collects and analyzes quantitative and qualitative data within a quantitative research design, qualitative research design, or research procedure. Collection analysis of secondary data occurs before and or after primary methods. The purpose of this design is to answer different questions that require different types of data. Some questions require quantitative answers, some require qualitative. So to enhance this, we have this embedded design. So a quantitative or qualitative data collection is within a quantitative or qualitative procedure. Single data set is not enough, rather never enough for an embedded design, because it is after all a mixed one. The two types of data answer different research questions. Collection and analysis of the second data set may occur before, during, and or after the first data collection. What are the examples of embedded design? Qualitative data in quantitative study. Develop an instrument in an intervention trial. Try to understand the impact of the intervention on participants. Test long-term effects of intervention. Let me just give one example very quickly. Mixed method is so big that I think I'm running late, even if I'm trying my best. Say disruption of education due to COVID-19. All of the educational institutions virtually closed, not really even virtually closed. Only few people who have access to online in India, but 21% people have access to online. That's not always, not a regular basis. It's an absolute number. It depends on the connectivity, etc. So education has been severely disrupted. Now, if we introduce, suppose government introduces, then Delhi government did mobile data, etc., giving mobiles, so on and so forth. So that would be an intervention. And suppose we actually now start to study that what would be the effect of it. That will be an embedded type of mixed method design. That what is the effect of it? The kind of brick and mortar school children used to go, and now they have a mobile and a mobile data pack. What are the other things you can think of? We can think of one thing at the very beginning. I mean, giving individual a mobile and data pack won't help it unless we have the connectivity and the server properly done in those areas. So when to use embedded design? Choose this design if you have expertise with the primary design, are comfortable with primary orientation, have little prior experiences with the supplemental method, resources limit, placing equal priority on both methods needs for a secondary data set. So you can always go with the embedded one if you're comfortable with the primary data set, and you can then have a secondary data set follow. So what are the philosophical assumptions of embedded design? Worldview may reflect primary approach, pragmatism for a concurrent approach, shift in a sequential approach. Common variants are experiment, correlational, development and validation, mixed method case study, mixed method narrative research, mixed method ethnographic research. See, all this you can do in an embedded design, but you start with a primary approach. And pragmatism for a concurrent approach, and then shift in a sequential approach. So all these imply one thing: the researcher has to be very well trained for this kind of studies in using embedded design. This is just the pictorial position of the embedded design. Quant, then intervention. That means you're collecting qualitative. Then again quant, then your interpretation based on quant and little bit of qualitative. So, I mean, this is like embedded. So every time there is an intervention of the other type. So quantitative designs to be used in an explanatory, predictive, between subjects, pre and post test, within subject, crossover, factorial. So this is always, embedded. Quantitative has little bit of intervention of qualitative, and qualitative having interpretation and intervention of quantitative. So it's always the mixed scenario embedded. So this is an interesting thing because it incorporates pleasantly diverse set of skills and tasks. In a sense, it's very interesting because you have a case study, you can have case study, you can have narratives, you can have ethnography, all mixed. You can do everything you want. You have a free hand, but very skillfully. So strengths are, it requires less time and fewer resources, larger design with supplemental data, fit team approach. I mean, these are actually done, embedded ones are done, research projects where 2-3 people are involved, or some kind of a, program, policy analytical situations. And challenges are expertise in primary design and mixed methods, must specify purpose for collecting and supplemental data, must decide when to collect supplemental data, is also difficult to integrate. Here is the real headache, how to integrate and how to reduce the bias during the qualitative period. And this actually takes, special learning of certain other things. This is a book, I think you can have a look at it. It's available through if the colleges and the universities have this kind of access through internet. This is a good book. It assesses the impact of a year-long faculty development program on, this is an article, faculty approaches to teaching, International Journal of Teaching, Learning in Higher Education. And there is also a book by Light, where he talks about objective research questions, quantitative, qualitative, mixed method, and explains through his research very well. And the mixed method design employed was an explanatory with a quasi-experimental design, so it's a mixed one. Quantitative method was quasi-experimental between subjects approach utilizing pre- and post-test control group design. Qualitative data was 2 time points intervention. And he did it with so much of labor that it's a wonderful study. There are some defects, of course, no study is perfect, but it's a very good example. Now, this is actually one of the most, I would say, the dynamic contribution of mixed method research, that it takes care of the issues of social change. This is why it's called now transformative design. See, when mixed methods went through 90s, 2000 and first decades even, we did not have transformative design. It has been added actually in the late first decade of the 21st century, and now we are having it. Because here, the researcher mixes diverse forms of data as participant observation, narratives or ethnography, as well as descriptive or inferential statistics and automated measures, and focuses on cultural responsiveness, recognizing those dimensions of diversity that are associated with power differences, building trusting relationships and social change. So this is a transformative one. It grows. It studies things which this almost can we live through, the social changes, like the changes in our leisure pattern in terms of digitization. Our leisure has changed. We are now more happy with having a mobile in the hand instead of going to a park and sitting on a bench and having a conversation. Only few people are in the park. I mean, in COVID-19, nobody's there, but before COVID. And we undergo, the parents, the children, the families, and the husbands, spouses, partners have undergone a serious change. We see, pictures in Facebook that you are on a date, but both of you have mobiles on your hand. When you're not looking at each other, look at your mobile, and that is how you're happy. So this transformative designs allows you to capture the social change and the situation of the cultural situation, power differences, etc., so on and so forth. So quantitative data collection and analysis, follow-up, qualitative data collection and analysis, interpretation. So first you get maybe quantity, how many students are actually using online classes for how many hours in the primary, secondary, college, university, whoever chooses one setup. And then you follow up by interpreting through qualitative data. That means you actually follow up with interviews. Whatever statistics you got to follow up with a credibility position, because it is transformation. They may, occur as a statistic, that is one in the whole absolute number, but they are not actually endowed with it or empowered with it. So we need a transformative framework. Now, it's a framework for advancing the needs of underrepresented or marginalized populations, such as feminist theory, racial or ethnic theory, sexual orientation theory, and disability theory. And frankly speaking, transformative framework is actually, in a sense, a contribution of these theories actually, which are not mainstream, which are very, outside the mainstream, what we should say. I don't want to use the word that, marginal, but I would like to use the word that not really discussed or being afraid of. Now, we can give one very current example that how much now we know about racism of America, because Trump has done a great work of exposing America. And I really thank Trump for, bringing out the racism which was there always in the United States of America, but was not coming out because the liberal Democrats were suppressing it, the liberal democratic measures. But, there were huge racism which has come out during Trump administration. That there is an anti-democratic fervor whatever citadel of democracy America is, has come out during Trump's not winning the election. So in a sense, it's a transformative framework to catch social events which is still going on. And we can really say that we are actually capturing part of reality of social change, which is very important for any researcher to capture social change. Feminist theory also has done the same thing, that shown that how women were treated, should be treated, and there is this, division between the white feminist, white liberal, developed country feminist, the global north feminist, and the third world feminist. I don't know whether you have heard Chandra Kalpade Mohanty's name, talking about intersectional theorist and third world feminism. So all these things actually, and then finally, physical disability and mental disability has given birth to different kinds of researches which we never even thought after the last decade of the 20th century, which has actually blossomed with the differences we face, with the challenges we face in everyday life. That tells us what we should study. So all decisions about interaction, priority, timing, and mixing are made within the context of transformative framework. Researchers can implement any of the 4 basic mixed methods designed within the transformative framework, the ones we just studied, those 4 ones. Challenges is little guidance in the literature to assist researchers. Yeah, this is the most important challenge. You won't find much even now about the transformative works. And implementing mixed methods in a transformative way. Researchers need to have expertise in theoretical foundation of the study. Here, feminists are a little help, so that is why I had to change this, because all these economic times advertisements are coming, how we are doing great in our COVID fight, with the picture of Narendra Damodar Das Modi. Okay, so the challenges are little guidance in literature to assist researchers, and then transformative design variants, feminist lens, informative variant, disability lens, socioeconomic class lens. See, here is the problem. The problem is that we don't have these lens actually. Feminist lens, disability lens, transgender lens. We say we have formally by the law, but we don't. Formally, we have made our women equal. Formally, we have made transgender a part of India, not yet the homosexuals and lesbians. But we actually don't have literature how to do research on them. We don't have much of experience how to do research on them. We still are afraid, or we think that somebody has come out of the zoo when we see a transgender. রাস্তায় হিজড়ে দেখলে পরে লোকেদের অসম্ভব রকমের রিয়াকশন হয় এখন, as if ওরা চিড়িয়াখানা থেকে বেরিয়ে এসছে। এখনো কোনো বিবাহিত ভদ্র মহিলা যদি কোনো কিছু না পড়েন, সকল ম্যারেজের চিহ্ন না ধারণ করেন, জিজ্ঞেস করা হয় কি হয়েছে, উনি পড়েন না কেন, কোনো গোলমাল আছে নাকি? আর সব বিবাহিত পুরুষরা চিহ্ন ছাড়া বিবাহিত বলে গণ্য। তাহলে এই যে বায়াস গুলো রয়েছে, we have ingrained biases of this, and we always think the lower income group is thief and middle income group are all honest. We know that bribery and corruption is highest at the highest level, but we follow these, and so we do not have a transformative lens, either through disability orientation or racist orientation, anti-racist orientation or feminist orientation or transgender orientation. We don't have, and we don't even know how to study children properly. We are now very much in danger that we did not know, and now our children demands from us that we need to do proper research. India still is devoid of proper researches on children. So in a sense, it's a real problematic matter, but that is the most important research design and the contribution of mixed methods. Now, what is the format of mixed method? The same as any other research. Introduction means you tell us why you are doing the study. Then statement of the problem, that is the topic. Then the research problem means the research question. There you have a trouble. Everybody has. Background and justification. Why are you doing this? Are you justifying it from some theories, or you say, I'm going to give birth to the theory? So decision on deductive and inductive, explanatory and exploratory. Deficiencies in the evidence, audience, definition of terms. Then literature review. Literature review should include relevant headings and subheadings. Following the literature review, the purpose statement, then research questions should be presented. What is the purpose statement? I mean, I know when students apply to foreign universities, there is a statement of purpose. And the students often come to us saying that what I should write. Because I don't know what my purpose is. But you have to write a statement of purpose to justify why you are applying there. The purpose statement is the overall content aim, the type of mixed method design you have chosen or you are about to choose, your open forms of data collection that will be used. It's a general one. You can rectify afterwards. The data collection sites and the reason for collecting both forms of data. See, you have to tell why you are doing mixed methods. Because I heard it is good and I will get, more sort of pat in the back. That's not the reason. You really know what mixed method is and you do the research in, because see, if you don't know, then you don't know whether you have to go with the quantitative first or the qualitative first or the convergent or, transformative. You have no idea. So we have to have this idea. So that's exactly that. The research questions become very important because you will have two types, quantitative, qualitative. You might have convergent one also. Now, mixed methods format, participants, quantitative, qualitative, instruments, procedures, design, quantitative data, qualitative data, data analysis, and its limitation. It's rather elaborate than one method study. So that is why it will take time, take more labor, more commitment, etc., etc. Now, these are some of the one or two multi-method research questions. See, multi-method research question will always have to be done in an interactive manner. It cannot be prescribed. A prescription doesn't work in multi-method. So a mixed method research question directly addresses the mixing of the quantitative and qualitative strands of the research. This is the question that will be answered in the study based on the mixing of the methods. So if the dimension is the relationship of question to the research process, options is predetermined, description is the researcher writes a question based on literature practice, personal tendencies, and the disciplinary consideration at the outset of the study. This would be predetermined type one, dimensions one. The one which is emergent is slightly different. The researcher formulates a new or modified question during the design. This modification is the clue to it. The indicative catalytic position in terms of what you're modifying. That's the emergent part. So hypothetical example from studies about online interactions. How do college students perceive the impact of the web, like YouTube? What ways has online chatting affected work productivity? In the emergent case, you might say, to what extent do people who are not part of online global communities experience the themes that emerge from the qualitative data? This is a different question. And similarly, compare the question, how do college students perceive the impact of web, like YouTube? Here the question is, to what extent do people who are not part of the online global communities, there are still lots, so experience the themes that emerge from the qualitative data. Second question in the predetermined one was, what ways has the online chatting affected work productivity? What are the most effective online educational tools for first graders? Here you presume things where you are more open. So because it is transformative, because it is going on. It's a research which is emergent, it's going on. So online education is now our emergent topic. No doubt about it. The whole country and the whole world is upside down. How to provide formal education through online. There are several, bases of this. We can't discuss that. But this is actually one of the very transformative type of research topic. These are some of the books from which I have taken help for the last 20 years. Tashkahuri and Tedley are very famous, so is Chris and Planko. I thought you should see that some of the books are available. Sage publishes a Journal of Mixed Method Research, which is excellent. And these are the references if anybody wants. I will now stop presenting and the floor is open for questions.
Madam,
Yes.
there is two questions. The first question is, please explain about convergent parallel design.
Okay. And let me take the second question also.
Yeah. The second question is, please explain the term intervention trial.
I'll take the second question first because that comes actually logically first. See, intervention is you're having a fever and fever goes, down in the night, up, and down in the morning and up in the night. So you're having some paracetamol, general antibiotic, etc. Here comes your maternal uncle or somebody. Says that, well, since it goes up in the night, you must have a dengue or a malaria test. Then your mother gets scared and said, what do you mean? She has a dengue or a malaria? Then your maternal uncle said, I don't mean anything. I'm just telling you to get the test done to see that wider temperature, if it is a normal viral fever, quote unquote normal, then the temperature doesn't, go down in the night and stays down up to the evening and then gets up. This is a kind of an intervention. So the dengue malaria test is done, but not done when your fever was up. So it shows no dengue malaria. Then comes another of your, paternal uncle. মানে মামা এসেছিল এবার কাকা এলো এসে বললো যে দূর বাবা ও কি জানে যখন জ্বর উঠবে তখন তো নিতে হবে টেস্টটা তো যখন জ্বর উঠলো তখন টেস্ট নেওয়া হলো another intervention. Now there comes a type of malaria but not clear. The lab said you have to do it second time. Second time means now comes another doctor because your father and mother by that time is irritated about your uncle's advice, all the uncle's advice, and consulted another doctor, and the doctor said that blood has to be taken both the times and not once but twice with 2 days or 3 days of difference. That is your final intervention trial. And some teacher comes to you and tells you that your research is wonderful. Somebody comes and says your research is worthless. Here comes the third person to tell you how you will make the research wonderful. Have you understood this one through the allegory of the malaria, dengue, and your uncles? Who asked it? Shukarna. Shukarna, did you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, good. Okay. Now, convergent parallel design. Now, whoever has asked it, Shommo, আমি একটু বিপদে ফেলি তোমাকে অনেকদিন তো পড়িয়েছি তোমাকে একটু বিপদে ফেলার নিশ্চয়ই অধিকার আছে তুমি
না ম্যাম
একদম বিপদে ফেলবো না আচ্ছা তাও মেনে নিলাম তুমি কি টপিক চাও সৌম্য কনভার্জেন্ট প্যারালাল ডিজাইনে
ইয়েস ম্যাম
একটা টপিক বলো বাছা একটা টপিক বলো তুমি কিছুই করবে না আমি সব বলে দেবো এই কিরকম কথা তুমি একটু মাথা খাটাও বলো যে একটা টপিক তোমার কি পছন্দের টপিক একটা বলো কিসে কাজ করতে চাও ধরো ভবিষ্যতে বা কিছু কি বর্তমানে যাই হোক অতীতেরটা তো হবে না কথা না কি কাজ কিসের উপরে কাজ করতে চাও তাকে কনভার্জেন্ট প্যারালাল বানাই
ম্যাম আমার মানে বেসিক্যালি ইন্টারেস্টেড অন রিলিজিয়ন among
রিলিজিয়ন ভুল লোককে ধরেছো মানে অর্গানাইজড রিলিজিয়ন ওরে বাপরে
না অর্গানাইজ
বলছো আরে রিলিজিয়ন তো অর্গানাইজ ছাড়া প্রাইভেট তুমি তো পাবলিকলি ডিসকাসই করবে না রিলিজিয়ন বলতে কাকে বোঝাচ্ছ? হিন্দুইজম ইজ নট এ রিলিজিয়ন। হিন্দু নামে
No, ma'am, I'm talking of any festival. I'm talking of the Durga Puja oriented religion.
তাহলে তুমি রিলিজিয়নে নেই, এই তো প্রথমেই তো গুলিয়ে দিলে এক্সপ্লানেশনে। সেটা হচ্ছে তুমি তাহলে বাপু ধর্মে নেই, মানে বাংলা করলে যদি ধর্ম দ্বারা, আমি ধর্ম বলবো না, ধর্ম কথাটার অন্য মানে। ধর্ম কথাটা সংস্কৃত এবং তার মানে হচ্ছে code of conduct, right code of conduct. And British has not understood Sanskrit and actually completely misinterpreted it. So religion, no, you're talking rituals. Durga Puja is a ritual, man-made ritual. তাহলে কি আমরা রিচুয়ালে বলবো?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. তাহলে রিলিজিয়ন আউট, রিচুয়াল। Okay. Ritual Durga Puja. Durga Puja মানে তোমার your location has to be Bengal, I presume. Your site or
Yes,
location has to be Bengal. Okay, fine. So Bengal is your location. Rural or urban?
Ma'am, it's urban, ma'am.
It's urban. Urban area, which will include South Calcutta posh area, Salt Lake posh area. Salt Lake is of course not Kolkata. Anyway, Salt Lake posh area, or you will include the slums along with the area. For example, in Koshba, this is there are rich people, there are poor people who all participate in the same thing. What is your take? See, you have to tell me, then I will proceed. তুমি আমায় শুধু কাজ করাবে তা হবে না, তোমাকে করতে হবে আমার সাথে। বলো
ম্যাম, জাস্ট টার্মটা আমি ঠিক মানে যেটা আপনি এক্সপ্লেইন করলেন ওটা আমি মানে আই কান্ট understood that. That's why I've asked about convergent parallel design.
এরকম ভাবে তো হয় না। কোনটা এক্সাম্পল দিতে গেলে, সত্যিকারের এক্সাম্পল দিতে গেলে তো রিসার্চটা সত্যিকারের রিসার্চ। কোনটা? কনভার্জেন্ট?
নো ম্যাম, ওই যে আপনি যেটা বললেন না কনভার্জেন্ট প্যারালাল ডিজাইন, যেটা আপনি বলছিলেন ওই বিষয়টা আমার একটু ক্লিয়ার হয়নি।
মানে তুমি জানো, আমি তোমার তো গুগল আছে বাবা, কনভার্জেন্টের মানে দেখেই বুঝে যেতে, প্যারালালের মানে দেখলে বুঝেছে। হ্যাঁ, প্যারালাল কি একসঙ্গে চলছে, ঠিক আছে। কনভার্জেন্স দুটো মিশে গেছে। এটা তাহলে কনভার্জেন্ট কথাটার জন্য এত কষ্ট হচ্ছে।
না না ম্যাম, ওই ডিজাইন।
Durga Puja is a ritual where the researcher can see people are having fun quantitatively because they are buying lot of things, consuming lot of things. And Durga Puja can be studied by the qualitative study because people are enjoying the ambience of it, going out, meeting people, having fuchka with other people, having those people whom your parents don't allow in regular time, or parents do not know you have gone out, especially teenagers. These days, these are not applicable, but somewhat applicable, etc. So those are actually qualitative type. Now, if you merge it, converge it, concurrently collects it, that becomes convergent parallel design. Someone ঢুকলো?
Okay, ma'am. Now it's clear.
Okay, ঠিক আছে। Any other question?
Yes, madam. There is another question. If you kindly explain embedded process again.
No, I will not explain embedded process again. Why? You have to tell me your topic. Prakriti Mukherjee.
Yes, ma'am.
Research topic for the embedded one. আমি again কেন বলবো? এটা কি ক্লাস?
নো ম্যাম, আই জাস্ট মানে আমার ওই জায়গাটা বুঝতে অসুবিধা হচ্ছে যে মিক্স মেথডের সঙ্গে এমবেডেডটা কিভাবে রিলেট করা হচ্ছে ওই জায়গাটা।
You know the meaning of the word embedded?
নো ম্যাম।
এই তো খারাপ জিনিস হলো, বাংলা ইংরেজি দুই গুলিয়ে ফেলছো। প্রথিত জানো?
ইয়েস ম্যাম।
প্রথিত কথাটা বাংলায় জানো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম।
প্রথিত মানে কি? প্রকৃতি।
প্রথিত মানে যেটা অলরেডি মানে আই গেস মানে যেটা আছে মানে এক্সিস্ট করছে। আই গেস সো ম্যাম।
যা বলবে হয় তুমি জানো, নয় তুমি জানো না, এর মাঝামাঝি কিছু নাই রে ভাই।
না ম্যাম, কাইন্ডলি এক্সপ্লেইন।
এমবেডেড ইজ প্রথিত।
আচ্ছা
It's already embedded there. ওর মধ্যেই ও রয়েছে। আমরা যেমন বলি the child is the father of the man, মানে হচ্ছে বাচ্চাটার মধ্যেই বড় হয়ে বাবা হওয়ার সম্ভাবনাটা রয়েছে।
আচ্ছা
হ্যাঁ, অর্থাৎ embedded মানে হচ্ছে যে the possibilities are already there. All you have to do is to, properly utilize it so that it becomes an embedded design. Like all quantitative data has an embedded qualitative position and vice versa. That is why you can transform a qualitative data into a quantitative one by coding, post-coding we call it after research, and quantitative data you can also take the aspect of the qualitative side and explain it qualitatively. ওই যে যারা বউকে ধরে বিরাট অত্যাচার করেছে ডিউরিং দি কোভিড, কতজন লোক অত্যাচার করেছে, তাহলে সেইটা একটা রয়েছে, মানে নাম্বারস তো আমাদের পেতেই হবে যে ভারতবর্ষে 130 কোটির মধ্যে কত লোক মারতে পেরেছে এবং কত লোকের কাছ থেকে আমরা জানতে পেরেছি। তারপরে কি হবে, এবার মারল কেন এই জায়গাটা আসছে, তাহলে কি 24x7 দিন আছে বলে মারলো নাকি ব্যাপারটা কি, তাহলে এই জায়গাটা আসছে। তোমার এমবেডেডে কি বলেছিলাম, researcher collects and analyzes quantitative and qualitative data within a quantitative research design, qualitative research design or research design. And you can do it during or before. তার মানে কি একজনের মধ্যে আরেকজনের অস্তিত্ব, that's what is embedded. You are bringing it out, that's all.
Okay, ma'am.
One piece of reality can be explained in qualitative way and in quantitative way. But this statement has a lot of faults. You cannot say, শিবরাম চক্রবর্তী তোমরা পড়ো না, না আমরা ছোটবেলায় পড়তাম, শিবরাম চক্রবর্তী লিখতেন 66 বেগে গিয়ে 83 বেগে দম নিয়ে 52 বেগে হাসলাম। এইটার মানে হচ্ছে ওরম ভাবে হয় না, কোয়ালিটেটিভ কোয়ান্টিটেটিভ হয় না। আমাকে কতটা ভালোবাসে কে, 52% ভালোবাসে এ 43 ও 83, ওটা যেমন হয় না তেমনি some things cannot be expressed in number terms. আমি কি বোঝাতে পারলাম?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, বুঝতে পেরেছি। থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম।
দিব্যেন্দু, আমি কোনো এগেইন প্রশ্নের আর উত্তর দেব না, নতুন প্রশ্ন চাই। এই কি
কে ম্যাডাম,
ক্লাসের নোট নাকি যে যেটা মিস করে গেছে সে সেটা তক্ষুনি না, নতুন প্রশ্ন দাও। এ কি কথা?
Is there any new question?
প্রশ্ন করব, প্রত্যেকে আমাকে একটা করে রিসার্চ কোশ্চেন বলবে, আমি সেটা অ্যানালাইজ করব মিক্স মেথড।
ওকে ম্যাডাম।
এত বোরিং হলে তো মুশকিল, এই জন্য ওয়েবিনার তো শহীদ মিনার হয়ে যাচ্ছে না, নিচে গিয়ে চলতে হবে হয়ে যাবে। কি হলো, কেউ নেই এখানে? 77 জন লোক রয়েছে, একটু আগে 82 না 83 ছিল। 77 people, I mean excluding Howrah girls or college people, let's say 70 people, তার মধ্যে কেউ একটা টপিক দিতে পারছে না যা আমরা মিক্সড মেথড করে দেখাই, হোয়াট এভার ইউ ওয়ান্ট, তখন আমি ইন্টারভেনশন আবার ডিসকাস করবো। এই তো ইন্টারভেনশন ডিসকাস করছি টুয়াইস আজ না। জামাল, আমি আর ইন্টারভেনশন করবো না, এবার আপনি কিছু নতুন থাকলে বলুন। রিসার্চ হবে কি করে? আর প্রশ্ন নেই?
No, I think no.
তাহলে তো আমি বলবো যে লোকে ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছিল, কারণ এটাই তো এখন অনলাইনে আমাদের ভীষণ প্রবলেম, যে আমরা তো দেখতে পাই না। এই তো পজিটিভিজমের দরকার, দেখাটা দরকার ছিল, দেখতে পাই না বলে সব ঘুমিয়ে পড়েছিল। Effect on religion on election results. আবার রিলিজিয়ান, ও বাবা, রিলিজিয়নের হাত ছাড়াতেই পারবো না, বুঝেছি। সুকন্যা, what kind of religion?
Hinduism.
Hinduism তো রিলিজিয়ন নয়। Is there a god named Hindu? গড থাকতে হবে, খ্রিস্টানিতে ক্রাইস্ট আছে, ইসলামে মোহাম্মদ আছে, বুদ্ধে বুদ্ধ আছে, জৈনে মহাবীর আছে, আমাদের হিন্দু বলে গড আছে? ডু উই হ্যাভ এ গড? Hinduism? Then I can't make Hinduism a god. And by the way, এটা অযাচিত উপদেশ, কিন্তু না এক মিনিট, হিন্দু কথাটা কোথা থেকে এসেছিল? কোন রিলিজিয়ন থেকে কি? না, যারা সিন্ধু নদের তীরে বাস করত এবং ইরানিয়ানরা স কথাটা বলতে পারত না, তাই হিন্দু হয়েছিল। আর গ্রিকরা স কথাটা বলতে পারত না, তাই তারা ইন্দাস বলেছিল। মেগাস্থিনিস লিখলো ইন্ডিকা আর ইন্দাস। তো যারা সিন্ধু নদের তীরে বাস করত তাদেরকে অপভ্রংশ উচ্চারণে হিন্দু। 13th সেঞ্চুরিতে যখন মুসলিম রুল এলো, তারা বলল এরা হচ্ছে হিন্দু। রিলিজিয়াসাইজেশন শুরু হলো, আকবর সেটাকে বন্ধ করেছিল, ব্রিটিশ আবার এটাকে শুরু করে। গ্যাভিন ফ্ল্যাগ বলে একটা ব্রিটিশ লোক আছে, খুব ভালো লিখেছে এনসাইক্লোপিডিয়া, কিন্তু দেখে নিও, অনলাইনে অ্যাভেলেবেল। Hinduism is not a religion, it's a philosophy, or maximum you can say it's an ideology. So you are asking about which religion? Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Jainism, or those who known as Indians and think they are Hindus?
Ma'am, last option, I guess.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Ma'am, last option.
Acha. Yeah, I know you all wanted to be Hindu. সেই জন্যই তো প্রবলেমটা হচ্ছে, বুঝেছি। ইলেকশন মানে কোন ইলেকশন? কামিং ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গল ইলেকশন? আমি ওই সেফোলজিতে যাব না। আর কি যে ইলেকশন সেন্ট্রাল জিতেছে সেটা
সেন্ট্রাল ম্যাম
জিতেছে, যেটা মানে 2019 এ যেটা জিতেছে, there is none. There was none. Hinduism has no effect. অন্তত কোনো সার্ভে সেটা বলেনি যে হিন্দু বলে হিন্দুকে ভোট দিয়েছে, এরকম কিন্তু হয়নি। 2019 election was not fought on religious platform, your religion platform. It was actually not on even in that 2018 end. Modi also talked about development. The word development has evaporated since he came to power with CAA, NRC, etc. The word development is banished from Indian political discourses because now they are talking this. In the 2019 election কিন্তু ওভাবে কথা। ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলেও যে বিজেপি জিতেছে, যদি না ফ্রড হয়ে থাকে, ইভিএম মেশিনের একটা গোলমাল উঠেছিল, ধামাচাপা পড়ে আছে জানি না, কিন্তু যদি না গোলমাল হয়ে থাকে, then religion had no impact actually. It is not, it actually had a very peripheral impact. It's an interesting question. I'm going to an interesting question. Madam, as an artist, if I want to do research on painting in Indian values and culture, well, I'm slightly confused about, giving a rubric to Indian values and culture, because there will be multi type of culture and multiple Indian values. But yes, mixed method will do. Rather, will do better than any one method. Since Indian values means you will have, different types of values. And mixed method always works with differences much, much better. Because reality is a mixture of a multiple scenario. Reality cannot be unilinear or straight. Does it answer your question, Suresh?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I was just checking about Indian values. Could it be possible for mixed method technique to be implemented in my research?
You like to name the kind of Indian values you think are Indian values? Indian values only, not really.
For example, in our tribal art, there are still some values are carried with related to family life or related to culture related to society. So how to be a society, or how to be a family, or how to be in a means or religions, which we are talking just now. So those values could be able to explore in our technique, methodology. So in that criteria, I was asking.
Example, slightly confused. Tribal values. I mean, tribes were everywhere. All of us were tribes, or rather, our forefathers were tribes. What exact Indian values you're referring to in terms of a tribe?
Like family systems in a society, means of how the family operate in a society.
The first thing of research is specificity. You have to specify. The first thing of a research question is specificity. You have to specify which tribe, what time frame of the tribe, the area of the tribe, etc., and which type of family system, because they have also undergone, most of the tribes have undergone certain changes in the I don't like the word tribe because it's a European word which meant for inferior people. I would like indigenous peoples. Indigenous people is a better word. So all of us were indigenous at some point of time, at one place or other. What exactly you have in mind? You have to have a particular group of indigenous people in mind, and then a time frame and a location. Without that, this is too broad. See, research is very specific and in a sense narrow. Narrow in the sense of not in the negative sense, but in a positive sense. That you narrow down the research topic. Exclusion of others, so that your research topic is a success. This is slightly big and broad, don't you think? So you have to specify, which Indian value. Suppose I tell you, Otiti Devo Bhavo, the hospitality tradition of Indians, where you don't have to go tribe or anywhere, but you can talk about a hospitality tradition in relation to so-called industrialization, urbanization, and the original customary practices we had. That would be a mixed research question. That would certainly be a mixed research question and would be a good study. No doubt about it. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yes. So that could be one research topic.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there any questions? Any other questions? I think no, man.
আচ্ছা, আমি কি একটা অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট দেব? আমি জানি না অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট কিভাবে জমা হবে, কিন্তু আমার মনে হয় একটা অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট দেওয়া উচিত এই হিসেবে যে এটা একটা 7 দিনের কোর্স। এভরিবডি
অ্যাসাইনমেন্ট দিন।
হ্যাঁ,
বাড়িতে করুন।
হ্যাঁ, বাড়িতে করুন, প্র্যাকটিসটা করুন। তো এভরিবডি শুড ডিভাইস আ রিসার্চ কোয়েশ্চেন and the specifics of the research question, that is location, sample, time frame. And the research question should be a question, not a statement. That means you are asking to find out something. And it should be exploratory type, not explanatory. That means newer ones. So find out how you can carry out this research through mixed method, since the research question is exploratory and the location must be within India and must be based on some kind of, read. Just I woke up in the morning and say like Hegel that all Indians are stupid, not like that. It's a research question which can be researched. I mean, the only efficacy, the only successful position of a research methodology course, work is a workshop, is that if you do it Really. Other than that, whatever you have learned, you will forget. Okay, I'll write down the assignment. I have given the assignment. Mixed method, MM is mixed method design. Write a research question, mostly explanatory in nature, and tell how you will apply mixed methods in your research. The answer should specify location, sample, time frame, and type mixed methods again. Everybody has taken that. Let's see, Dibyendu, how many you get. You should get it. Tell them a time frame when you want it. It should not take more than 3 days.
Okay, madam.
So by Thursday evening, it should be with you.
Right.
They can
Right,
send you soft copy or through mail. If you don't get any answer, you'll know I failed. If I get one answer, then I passed. So
Okay,
I take the
madam.
responsibility on myself.
Where to submit the assignment?
To you,
Yes.
and you forward me.
Okay, madam.
Okay.
We'll give you the details.
Okay.
Madam, I think there is no questions. Okay, no
Okay. So you can do the conclusion and end it.
conclusions. Okay. I would like to take this opportunity to express my heartfelt thanks and gratitude to Professor Dr. Bula Bhadro for extending her wholehearted involvement and deliberation of an excellent lecture on mixed methods research. Madam, we are really grateful that you have devoted your precious time to enlighten us with your erudite lecture and this academic endeavor. Thank you very much, madam. I further extend my sincere thanks and regards to our respected principal, Madam Dr. Ruma Bhattacharya, for giving me the opportunity to conduct the entire session, being one of the conveners. Last, but not the least, I thank all the participants for your generous participation in making the workshop successful. We shall meet again tomorrow at 3 p.m. sharp. Thank you all. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much for your patient listening. And the answer to the sharing of the PPT, no. I've given you references. You want references, I'll give you more, but not sharing of the PPT. That would be plagiarism. Okay. Okay, thank you, Shuparna. Okay. So I hope mixed methods will make you think a little, and maybe those who haven't done their research yet or doing some kind of research might try to apply it. Only that way India will go ahead in terms of researches. Okay. Thank you, Dibyendu. Thank you, Dr. Mitro. Bye. And thank you, Vijay Krishna Girls College, for giving me the opportunity. Bye now.
Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Okay, Dibyendu?
Hi, madam.
Okay, bye.
Bye, madam. Bye.
সেই রেকর্ডিংটা বন্ধ করতে হবে।
রেকর্ডিং বন্ধ করতে হবে।
অমিত দা আছেন না শ্বেতা দি আছেন?
শ্বেতা দি আজকে মনে হয় রেকর্ডিং এ দেখছিলাম। Yes, you can get this video in YouTube, Shukarna. শ্বেতাদিকে কেউ ফোন করে একটু বলতে হবে মনে হচ্ছে। রেকর্ডিংটা। হ্যাঁ।
রেকর্ডিং অফ না হলে চলতেই থাকবে রেকর্ডিং। হ্যাঁ বন্ধ করে দাও দাদা।
লিভ কর।
আচ্ছা ঠিক আছে।
এবং তো দেখা গেল কালকে রিপোর্ট কালকে